How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So in today's video we are going to be ranking Premier League signings for the 23-24 Premier League season. So if you have been watching us over the course of this season, you may have seen that we have actually already done this video 2 times already. So we did one of these back in October, and then we revisited the exact same tier list, doing it in February. And now I thought the season is pretty much over now, so now let's actually conclude and I guess really decide what the rankings are, because those were ranking them as we had done so far in the season, but now the season is done. This is the proper tier list, if you like, and every signing will be judged over the course of the season, but I am going to be referencing back to certain players and where I put them over the course of those 2 tier lists, so that it'll be interesting to see how I have ranked players throughout the course of the season and how they have either got better or worse or just stayed the same over the course of this year. So if you never watched those videos, these are the tiers that we have. We have signing of the summer, we have great signing, we have a good signing, we have an average signing, meh, and a flop. And what I do is I will put contenders for signing of the summer in here, and at the end of the video I will decide out of those contenders which one player will be my signing of the season in the Premier League for 23-24. So of course, get in the comments below any players you disagree with, think should be higher or lower, let me know. But we have so many players to get through right now, so I'm going to be fairly quick on all of them, and I have also included some for January signings as well. But anyway, let's begin. So first off, this is Vicario. Now Vicario is a very interesting one because I actually put him both times in signing of the summer. The first time he did not win signing of the summer, he was dropped to grade, but the second time he was actually in February my signing of the summer. Will I keep him there? For me, you know what, I'm not completely against him being in signing of the summer contention, but I can tell you now he's probably not going to be my signing of the summer again, because I think his level has dropped off a little bit. I think there has been a couple flaws in his games, particularly from corners, set pieces, been bullied a little bit at points, but that being said, he still had a really good season, really solid year, and been fantastic in goal, so I'm gonna keep him in contention here, but I would be shocked if he actually wins it. Next up is Ross Barkley. Ross Barkley I put in average in October, and then he got one of the biggest boosts up. He actually was also in signing of the summer contention with Vicario when I did this in February, and he came second. So when I was dropping the players, it was between these two. These two are my top 2 for signing of the summer. Now since then, I think he's still been good, but I don't think he's quite signing of the summer contention. He has been fantastic for Luton and a real resurgence in his career. Fantastic, and he got him for a free. But I think the fact that Luton didn't stay up means that I can't, if he kept them up, he would for sure be in signing of the summer, but unfortunately he didn't. They did drop off, and his performance did slightly, but he's still been a great signing. Mason Mount. Now Mason Mount's an interesting one, and I'm gonna have to kind of set a precedent here in terms of what I do. So what I'm gonna do is, with players who have been injured the entire season, and barely play due to injury, they'll automatically go in average. However, if they have been injured for most of the season, but they were brought in for like a big fee, or them being injured has had a major impact on their squad, and that the club spent a lot of money on them when they could have maybe bought someone else, or when they have played they maybe haven't done so well, then I'm going to judge them. But for most of them, they're going to go on average. And the latter is on Mason Mount for me, because even though he has suffered with a lot of injuries, when he has been available again, he has not been good enough at all. And as I was saying, United spent a lot of money on him. They really, really could have spent that money on somewhere else, because they definitely need upgrades in other positions, as we've seen. So for me, it's a flop. Sander Berge, I think has been pretty average. I think he's been okay in a Burnley shirt, not too bad, not too exceptional. I think he'll do pretty well in the Championship with Adama Traore. I mean, he hasn't really done anything in a Fulham shirt, but he did come on a free transfer, so I'm not going to put him in flop for that reason. I'll put him in there. Ola Aina. Now, I actually think I had him in a good signing. I had him good signing 2 times. I was quite impressed with him at Forest. Since then, I think he's been okay. He came in on a free. I think it's only on a 1-year contract. I think he's been fine. Average. I think this is Aaron Ramsey. Aaron Ramsey for Burnley really hasn't done anything. If anything, the only thing I remember him doing was giving away a pen against Aston Villa, was it? Which cost them a point, but they spent quite a bit of money on him as well. Like Sander Berge, might do well in the Championship, but right now he's a flop. Anthony Elanga. Now, Elanga I had with Ola Aina in good last time. I'm going to keep him in good. I think he has been a good signing for Forest. He started the season off on fire, tailed off a little bit, but has still been very positive, bright spot for Forest, and a pretty good signing for them. James Trafford. This sounds harsh, but I'm gonna put him in flop simply because now looking back, Burnley spent quite a bit of money on him. When they had Muric, who got them up last season, Trafford started the first half of the season, was pretty bad, and then replaced by Muric to the back end, and then suddenly, Muric did have an awful error, but overall Muric was actually pretty good, and Burnley, their best run of form actually came when Muric was in goal. So again, I think Trafford has a lot of potential, and I think next year will do very well. But in terms of just this season, he's been a flop, because if they had played Muric maybe for the entire season, who knows, Burnley could have actually been in the Prem still. Jordi Petrovic. So I put Petrovic firstly in October in average, and then I moved him in February to great. And I think I'm going to keep him there. I think I'm going to keep him in great. I think that for the fee we paid quite a low fee. No one really expected much of him, but he's come in and established himself as the #1 keeper for Chelsea, and he's never really put a foot wrong for us. He's been just solid keeper, and I think that's a great signing. But there's França, currently a flop. I should also caveat this with, by the way, if I put them in flop, it's just for this season. Even these guys, I believe França will come good, but right now he's a flop. Barely played this season for Palace, and they spent quite a bit of money on him. Mike Trezor, again, flop, barely played for Burnley. Yuri Tielemans. Now, Yuri Tielemans is an interesting one, because at the start of the season in October, I actually had him as a flop, because he was kind of like a rotation, never, not really used much by Villa. But Emery started using him again, and in February I moved him up to good signing. and I think he has potential to go great. He was a free transfer actually, so you know what, he's going in great signing. I think Tielemans is a great signing, free transfer, been really good for Villa this season and helped them get into the Champions League, so great signing for that reason. Alex Scott, I think, well, he's been injured for about half the season, so hasn't really had too much game time. When he's played, looked good, average. Edson Alvarez, so both dealers I had him in great, and I think I'll keep him there. I think he's been a great signing, really solid in that West Ham midfield, and really helped them. I believe it's Caicedo, the head's chopped off, so I can't quite see, but I think it is Caicedo. Now Caicedo, I had him in meh both times, and I am gonna keep him there. Simply because I think, obviously, the price tag, has he been worth his price tag? No way, he's a flop, right? If you're thinking about the price tag, but we all knew the price was overinflated when Chelsea signed him. No one really thought he was going to be a 130 mil player. He's had some bad games, don't get me wrong, made some errors, but I think a lot of that is due to the system and Chelsea kind of letting him down. And you know, the midfield's chopped and changed around him. But you've seen actually when Chelsea have improved towards the back end of this season, Caicedo has actually been one of our best players because there's been a bit more structure and help around him. So that's why for me, I'm gonna keep him in meh. I don't think he's quite been bad enough to be flop. I think, you know, he's in such a bad team that to call him a flop would be a little harsh in my opinion. Although I understand completely if you put him in flop, but I'll put him in meh. Carlos Baleba for Brighton. I mean, he hasn't really done much in a Brighton shirt, not played too much, flop. Was actually brought in for Caicedo's replacement and has not been that at all. Dean Henderson, I think has actually been a good signing for Palace, coming as their number one and has been really solid, really good. Brennan Johnson. Now Brennan Johnson, I had him in meh in October and I kept him in meh in February, but he has really improved. But he did still pay quite a bit of money for him for his Spurs, so I don't think I could call him like a good signing, but I think he's been average. Got a decent return in terms of goals and assists this season, and yeah, not too bad for first year at Spurs. Clement Lenglet, average. I believe he's on loan at Villa, but been using a rotation role, and when called upon has been okay. Cole Palmer. Now Cole Palmer, originally I had him in good. I had him as a good signing, and then I moved him up in February to signing of the summer contention, although he did not win it. And this season, this tier list, he is going to stay in signing this season, and he has definitely got a huge shout in terms of winning it. But we'll come back to that later. Nathan Collins, meh, cost Brentford a fair bit of money, to be honest, and while he's not been awful, he's not really been too great, and Brentford's defence has got worse this season, not because of Collins, but he's not really been incredible, and they maybe could have spent that money elsewhere, but he's been okay, he's been alright. I'll put him in meh. Timo Werner is our first January signing here. Now I didn't rank January signings, of course, so this is the first ranking I'm doing, and Werner, you know what, he came in as a loan, sort of an emergency guy. They had an injury crisis, Spurs needed an attacker. Werner's come in, you kind of knew what you were getting with him, you know, someone who would be a bit dangerous but wouldn't really give you too much output. He's been exactly that, but I don't think they can complain too much. It's just a loan as well, so I think it's been pretty good. I think it's been pretty good when you consider it's only a loan with no I'm putting him flop. But no flop because we paid quite a bit of money for him and he has not produced for goals at all when he was meant to be the main guy in terms of goals for Burnley this season. Ben Brereton Diaz for Sheffield coming on loan in January. And you know what? Good signing again. He's actually been pretty good for Sheffield and really helped them. Him and McBurney up top formed a pretty good partnership together and he scored some goals, got a few assists. I think he can kind of hold his head up high, one of the only Sheffield players who can do that. Of course, didn't really have the impact in terms of saving them or keeping them up, but none of that was due to him. It was more so Sheffield's defence was so bad because they did over 100 goals. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, Diaz, good signing for them. Okay, who is this? I think it's Disasi or Uchukwu. Let's just say it's Disasi. Okay, Disasi. I think Disasi is probably meh. I put him in meh 2 times, and I'm gonna keep him in meh. He had some decent moments this season, had some bad moments. Overall, it's been okay, but I mean, yeah, not entirely impressive, not entirely underwhelming. Origi barely played flop. Adam Wharton came in January from Blackburn to Crystal Palace and he has been really good for Palace and he looks like an absolute star for them. He looks like he's going to be sold on for a lot of money. But in terms of just this season, how's he done? I can't really say like a January guy unless they come in and just absolutely destroy the place. I can't really call it like a January signing a great signing yet when they've only been here for about 6 months. So I'm going to drop him to good, but yeah, I think he's got a huge potential. Next up, Armando Broja, complete reverse January signing and came in on loan, barely played. I mean, if anything, him arriving has actually helped Rodrigo Muniz step up his game and become the main guy for Fulham. But Broja has done absolutely nothing. Horrible loan for Fulham, horrible loan for Broja as a player, and a horrible loan for Chelsea. Right, his Fulham teammate Alex Iwobi. Alex Iwobi, I think has been I think it's been good signing. I wouldn't quite say great, but I think it's been good. Played almost every game for Fulham and been a really solid player for them. Alexis McAllister. Now McAllister, I actually had an average in October and average in February because at that point he had like a few injuries going, so he hadn't played loads. But now he has played. I'm actually going to put him in great signing. I think it's been really good for Liverpool. And yeah, I've been impressed with him in the midfield, the way he's been able to play multiple roles, play the deeper role, play the bit more advanced role as well. Really good. Unfortunately, Liverpool tailed off and that's kind of what prevents him from being signing of the summer, and he's had injury issues, but overall, great signing. Milos Kerkez, I think has been a good signing for Bournemouth. Very good signing, looks like a really promising left back. Matt Sells, you know what, I'm actually going to put as a great signing. He came in January, but I'm going to say he's great simply because at that point Forest had gone through about 4 keepers. They'd already played like Miles Turner and Vladikimos this season, and both of them were stinkers. They went and got Matt Sells, and they really needed him to work because Forest were in a deep relegation trouble, and if Sells was going to be another bum of a keeper, then that could genuinely relegate them. But he's actually come in and been pretty solid overall, not too bad as a keeper, and that's vital in terms of keeping Forest up. So for that reason, he's a great signing. Gustavo Hamer to Sheffield, gonna say meh. Yeah, Sheffield not have a good season. He's had a couple moments here and there, but overall, not fantastic. Although I do think he's a good player. Luke Thomas, I'm pretty sure he left halfway through the season. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I believe this is. Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, I had him as a good signing in October and had a good signing in February. He's now a great signing, maybe even a contender for signing of the summer, simply because they paid such a little fee for him. It was only like 5 million they paid, yet Hudson-Odoi has been arguably Forest's player of the season this year. He's been the guy who's got the goals and the assists, and especially towards the second half of the season where Forest were in trouble of getting relegated, he was the guy who stepped up, scoring goals, getting assists, playing well. So he has been a big part in terms of Forest staying up, so that is a great signing and great value for money for Forest. Next up, we have Cameron Archer. Now, Cameron Archer, I thought this was like a fantastic signing when this happened at the start of the year. It's not worked out like that at all. I think kind of similar to Gustavo Hamer. You know, Sheffield are a rubbish side, and it's not really his fault, but they paid quite a bit of money for him. Got like 4 or 5 goals this season, which is okay, but not really what you need, considering they paid like 20 mil for him. So yeah, it's probably a meh. Ryan Gravenberch. Now Gravenberch, I put him in average in October, and then I put him in meh in February. And you know what? He's gonna slide down into flop. Now look, I think Gravenberch could be a good player for Liverpool, but if we're being real, they paid about 35 mil for him. He's not really done anything in a Liverpool shirt. He's not really done anything. And if Liverpool had signed somebody for that money in the midfield who was maybe a bit more competent, a bit more ready to make an impact, Liverpool might well be still in the title race. Potentially. As I said, Gravenberch could come good, but from his first season, I don't really think it's been a great year for him. So right now, I think he is a flop. But that doesn't mean he can't come good. Calvin Phillips, straight flop on loan to West Ham. Just similar to Broja, awful loan for West Ham, awful loan for Man City, and a really bad loan for Calvin Phillips. Meant to reignite his career, and it's just kind of made it worse. Ansu Fati. Now, Ansu Fati, where did I put him? He was on loan, and I stuck him in good in October. He moved down to average in February, and he has now moved down to flop in the end of the season, simply because Brighton got him on loan. I'm assuming very high wages, decent loan fee. For that, just for a season loan, you're expecting, you know, big things. I'm pretty sure he's been injured, but he hasn't really played in the second half of the season. And even though he's a good player, as I said, for a loan like that with no option to buy or anything, you're expecting big things, but he never really delivered too much due to injuries and stuff. And yeah, disappointing. Timothy Castagna, good signing, pretty solid for Fulham when it called upon. Jefferson Lerma, I'm actually going to say it's a great signing. A free transfer from Bournemouth in the summer, and on a free, he's been really good. Really stepped up for Palace. Those moments, particularly under Roy Hodgson, where they looked like they could be going down, but Lerma stepped up, played multiple roles, centre back, midfield. Decore's been injured as well, so he had to step up massively, and he has done that on a free. Good signing. Josko Gvardiol. Now Josko Gvardiol, I had him in average in October, and I had him in average in February. Now, will I keep him there? I'm actually not. I'm going to boost him to a good signing. He costs quite a bit of money, of course, but I think he has kind of justified the fee in this first season. Started the season off okay, not really amazing, that's why I put him in average, had a couple injuries. But the second half of the season, wow, he has come to life in that left back role. season, so average. Kai Havertz. Now Kai Havertz, I actually had him as flop in October and I had him as flop in February. Now, where do I put him? I'm going to have to move him up to average. I'm not going to say good because he did cost a hefty fee, right? He cost quite a bit. But he has delivered in the number 9 role. It took him quite a while to adjust. It did take him quite a while, and it took a while for Arteta to realise where he should play. But in the number 9 role, Havertz has been pretty good, pretty solid. Still has flaws, not the most prolific striker, right? But as I said, he's been pretty solid. For the fee they paid, I think it's pretty average. But if Arsenal were to win the league, I'll probably boost him up to good. Mateus Nunes, I had him as a flop in October, I had him as a flop in February, and I'm going to keep him in a flop. Look, they paid actually a pretty decent fee, it was like 50 mil for this guy, and he's been a rotation guy, and when he has played, has been okay, but not really done anything major. They wanted, I think, Lucas Paquetá and Eze instead of him, and looking back, they definitely should have pushed more for that instead of paying for Nunes, really, because while Nunes is a good player, he's not really been too great, and I really don't see him becoming like a starter in this Man City side by any means. Nicholas Jackson, so he began in average, and then he was moved down to meh. And I'm actually gonna boost him up to a good signing. I'm gonna boost him to a good signing. I think that while Jackson is one of the worst finishers I've seen at Chelsea, he is all the other sides of the games he is really, really good at, and when you look at the raw numbers, he's fantastic in terms of getting into the box and getting in those scoring positions, which is why he's got like double digits in goals this season. And when you consider he was fairly young, only came in for about 30 mil, of course, as I said, has a lot of flaws, but for the fee we paid, I think it's actually a pretty good signing. I think it's a pretty good signing in terms of first season. Decent amount of goals, low fee, not bad. Jeremy Dogu, so he began in great and then moved down to good, and I think good is fair for him. Came in on a decent fee, has had some pretty bright moments this season, and maybe struggled for a bit of consistency and output at points, but has always looked dangerous and promising in a City shirt. Kieran Timber, of course, been injured the entire year, average. Mo Gudels was in average in October, and then he was moved up to great signing in February, and I think great is fair for Mo Gudels as well. Looked really, really good, really promising. One of the only bright sparks in that West Ham side, and you know what? Signing for summer contender, especially when you consider that West Ham are currently still pushing for a European place. If they get a European place, a lot of it will be down to Kudus because he has been at points carrying that attack and has been really, really good for West Ham. Romeo Lavia. Now Romeo Lavia, while he's been injured for most of the season, barely played. We spent a lot of money on this guy. We spent a lot of money on him. So, I have to be fair. If I did it to Mount, I have to do it to Lavia. While I think he might be a good player, right now he's a flop. We spent loads of money on him when we could have spent that money on somebody else because, right now he has barely played. Luis Sinisterra, I think has been a good signing. He was initially on loan, and I believe in January they made it a permanent deal, and really, really good player for Bournemouth. Justin Cliver, I think has been a great signing for Bournemouth. Great signing. It's weird, I feel like Cliver has been there for more than a year, but that's just like how good he looks in this Iraola system. Really, really good player, and has fit in really well at the Bournemouth. James Maddison. Now James Maddison is an interesting one because in October I had him in signing of a summer contention, and then he dropped down to great. Actually, wait, no, sorry. In October, I had him as the signing of the summer, and then in February, I had him in signing of the summer contention, and he dropped down to great. Now, I think he's actually in good. I actually think he's in good. He's been injured for a lot of his season, start of his season on fire, but post-injury has really not been the same player. He has had good moments, but we really haven't seen the same Madison have the same effect in that Tottenham side as we did before the injury. So, for that reason, he's in good signing. Next up, Mark Flecken. Mark Flecken, flop. He was in flop before, and he has to stay in there. He's not been good at all, and a huge downgrade to David Raya. Mateo Kovacic. Now, Mateo Kovacic was an average both times, and I'm going to keep him at average. I think he's been okay. I kind of expect a bit more from him at Man City, but they paid a relatively low fee, and he's played quite a bit of minutes in most likely the title winning team, so yeah, average. Matt Doherty, yeah, sure, average. Lewis Hall, meh, yeah, played here and there, not too many minutes, but it's been okay. Mavropanos, I would say, is average as well, been okay for West Ham. Mickey van de Ven, now I had him as a great signing in October, and then I moved him up into signing of the summer contention in February, and I think I'm actually going to keep him in signing of the summer contention. He has been arguably Spurs' player of the season this year. So good. Looks like a top class centre back. He's only like 21 as well. So fast, and he's so vital to the way Tottenham play. You saw what happened when he got injured this year. They kind of collapsed. So signing of a summer contender for sure. Musa Diaby. Now Diaby started the season in October in great, and then moved all the way down to meh. And I think I'm going to keep him in meh. He did cost quite a bit for Villa. Quite a bit, and I expected a lot more. He started the season off fantastic, but has really tailed off. Liam Bailey has taken his spot in the starting 11 as well. But the reason, like, I'm not going to say he's flopped because he's had some good moments, and while it was a big V, Villa have still achieved their goals in terms of qualifying for the Champions League without Diaby necessarily performing well. So it's not like, oh, if they had used that money, they would have like won the league or anything. So that's why Diaby's meh. Denali, I mean, has to be a flop for me. He is the, obviously it's mainly due to off-field situation, but he is the worst signing of the summer by far, considering they paid like a record fee. I think it was like so much money. Never played, got banned for the entire season. Newcastle, we've heard about their FFP issues as well. They needed money. Yeah, flop. Montiel, I mean, yeah, sure, he's been average, not really done too much. Beto, now Beto actually started off in, I believe, as a good signing, and then I moved him down to meh, and now I'm moving down to flop because he was brought in to actually replace Calvert-Lewin, because Calvert-Lewin was meant to be the batsman, but was always injured, right? And Beto has replaced him, but not with goals, not at all. Underperformed his XG a lot, and yeah, not been good enough. Neil Mopay, I do think has been average for Brentford. I think he's been decent, had some good moments here and there, not too bad. Zaniolo, I'm going to say is meh, kind of similar to Diaby. He's been okay when called upon, had a couple good moments, maybe expected a little bit more, but as I said, it's not like Zaniolo, you know, if they use that money elsewhere, they could have improved and achieved their goals, right? Like, he's been fine. Christopher Nkunku, been injured for most of the seasons, and I'm going to say average simply because when he actually played, he actually looked pretty good, so that's why. Oh, wait, this is Hudson-Odoi, who the hell was this? And oh, I think that's Sankari. My bad. Big up to you guys who noticed voice that before. So Sangare, I'll probably say is meh. Sangare brought in a lot of hype from PSV, but has been okay, but already set the world alight. Nuno Tavares, meh. Yeah, it's not really played too much. Calvin Bassey, I actually think has been a good signing. I think he's been really, really good at Fulham. Started off a bit shaky, but slowly got better, and really he was fantastic at the African Cup of Nations, and since then has improved at Fulham. James Milner, good signing, good signing. Been almost ever present for Brighton, and it's been a difficult year for Brighton, but Milner's been used in multiple positions, multiple roles, and yeah, solid. Mohamed Dahoud, I mean, he's not even at the club. Flop. Tom Davis, meh, yeah, meh. I'll put all the Sheffield guys in there. Ashley Young, I'm going to say his average. He's played a lot of minutes for Everton. I mean, he has been a bit bad at points, but still, he's played a lot. Was a free transfer, I believe, as well, so average. Right, Dominic Szoboszlai is an interesting one because he began in a great signing. He started the season off really good, then dropped down in February to a good signing, and now I'm going to drop him down to meh. I think since February, actually, since making that video, he has really been poor. He has dropped off massively. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but yeah, he has dropped off a lot. I'm not going to call him a flop, even though he did cost a lot of money, just because he did have some good moments. But as I said, he's dropped off a lot, and yeah, he's got a lot of ability. I think he will bounce back under Arnie Slot, but right now not too good. Dan Schumer, yeah, barely played, flop. Igor, it's been okay, I guess. Ryan Giles is not even at the club anymore. Max Aarons, I think, has been similar to the other Bournemouth guys, a good signing. Really, really solid, played a decent amount of minutes for Bournemouth. Jack Harrison, I'm going to say meh. Actually, I'm going to say average. He was only a loan, right? So, average. Contributed here and there, got a couple goals here and there, which has been helpful in terms of keeping Everton up, so that's why he's average. João Pedro, began in a good signing, and then moved up to signing of a summer contention, and I'm going to keep him in a signing of a summer contention because he's been Brighton's top goal scorer this season. While he's maybe dropped off a little bit since February, he has scored quite a few goals in all competitions, and without him, Brighton's season would be pretty bad. Pretty bad. So I think it's been pretty good. Verbruggen, on the other hand, probably a meh. Started the season off really, really shaky. I mean, he has since established himself as the number one at Brighton, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure how much of an upgrade he's been on Jason Steele, if I'm being honest. Andre Onana is a very, very good one here. So, Onana, I had him as flop twice, in October and February, but I'm actually going to move him up to meh. Now, if I'm just judging him off Premier League, I actually think it's been a good signing in terms of the Premier League. It's been pretty good, but he's made so many high class errors, and that Champions League campaign, single-handedly getting them out of the Champions League. For that reason, he has to get dragged down to meh. But I think his Prem performances have earned him not enough to be into a flop. Tae Chong, he's been okay for Luton, average. Raul Jimenez. Now, Raul Jimenez is a weird one because he was in flop in October. He then moved to good in February, and I'm moving to meh, back down. Yeah, kind of similar to Broja, been replaced by Rodrigo Muniz. Not really played too much now as the starting striker. Muniz is the striker, but still has contributed a decent amount of goals this season and been okay for Fulham. David Raya. Now, David Raya was in meh in October and stayed there in February, but he's going to get boosted up to good. had a couple like iffy moments, particularly at the start of the season, but overall good signing. Rob Sanchez, flop, came in meant to be the number 1 for Chelsea, and he is now number 2. Harvey Barnes, I'm going to say meh, simply because while he's been injured for most of the season and had a couple good moments here and there, Newcastle did spend a pretty decent chunk of money on him, and as I said, with Tonali, Newcastle do have money problems, issues, so they need every signing to bang, and he's been okay, but not incredible. Sofian Amrabat, flop, absolutely awful when playing for United. I think he's played like 10 minutes in 2024 this year. Regulon to Man United, I mean, yeah, whatever. It's only there for 6 months. Endo, I originally had as flop in October because at that point he was only really playing in the Europa League. And then I moved him up in February all the way to great signing, and I'm going to drop him slightly to good. I think he has been good considering they pay such a low fee for him. He has been a good player, really impressed with him, and solid holding midfielder, but I don't think he's quite great or signing of the summer, simply because I think we did see towards the back end of the season, right, like he is a bit limited in terms of he's nowhere near like a Rodri or a Rice's level as a DM, right? So if they had someone maybe a bit better there, then maybe they could have improved, but still a good signing for the value. Tyler Adams has played no minutes average. Tommy Doyle, I think Tommy Doyle has actually been pretty decent. He was initially on loan and they've made that permanent now. Pretty solid. I'm going to give him a good signing. Ugochukwu been injured for most of the season. Average. Pau Torres. Now Pau Torres was a good signing at the start of the year, and then moved up to great signing, and now he's moving up again to signing of the summer contention. One of Villa's best players this season, one of the best signings in general, and yeah, really good at the back, formed a great partnership with Ezri Konsa, and vital in terms of helping Villa get top 4. Declan Rice, both times was in great, and I'm gonna boost him up to signing of a summer contention. I just think it says a lot when I had him in, he cost 100 mil and I had him in great throughout the whole season, right? So, signing of a summer contender. Rasmus Højlund on the other hand, so he began in flop, then moved to meh, and I think I'm gonna keep him in meh because he cost a lot of money and he has a lot of potential. We've seen some good moments from him, but we've also seen him be quite raw and inconsistent. He's got an okay return of goals, but they did pay quite a bit, so right now I'd say meh, but he definitely has potential to become a good player. James Ward-Prowse, so both times he was in great signing. I'm going to slightly drop him down to good. I think he, since February, has slightly dropped off a little bit, but overall has been a good signing for West Ham and definitely suited the way they play. Okay, and finally Tino Livramento. I'm going to say average because it took him a while to adjust. It took him a while to actually play in the team, but once he has played, he has looked pretty good in the fullback, can play right back or left back, and looks like a really good player. Right, so time to decide who is my signing of the season. Signing of the season 23-24. I'm going to drop João Pedro to great just because that's fallen off a little bit since February. I'm going to also, for that reason, drop Vicario because again he has fallen off a little bit. These guys have really strong cases. I'm gonna drop Mo Gudos because I don't think like his impact is going to mean anything really for West Ham season. I think West Ham will probably finish outside of Europe, meaning Gudos, you know, fantastic individual season, but didn't really contribute much to this year in terms of impact. And then all of these guys is tough. It's real tough. he's had a lot of injuries, or well, he's had an injury which ruled him out for a chunk of the season where these three have been almost ever present. And I'm gonna have to drop Declan Rice simply because he costs like double the amount of these guys. And I mean, if Arsenal win the league, then sure he's signing of the season, but ultimately it looks like they're not, so I guess his signing didn't really lead to anything, although he's been incredible. So it's between Pau Torres and Cole Palmer for Premier League signing of the season. And if you watched my ranking, where I ranked the top 10 European signings, you all know what the answer is because one of these was included and one of them was not. So Pau Torres is dropping down, unfortunately, and my signing of the season has to be Cole Palmer in my opinion. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Chelsea fan, but as a Chelsea fan I can tell you we, from the majority of the season, have been abysmal, and he has been carrying us on his back. This guy is competing for the Golden Boot, playing for a team who were mid-table for most of the season, and the fact that we have a sliver, we have a hope of getting Europa League football is all because of this man. If he was not in this team, we would be about 14th. Honestly, he has carried us. Didn't even cost too much as well. Yeah, signing of the season for me. But there we go. That is the ranking every signing this season. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you have enjoyed, please leave a like. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you in another video.